I recently went camping near the base of a mountain range. Now, I'll be honest, this probably wasn't my greatest idea, as this area was all trails and everything was completely covered in snow at the time. But I didn't mind, because I was pretty used to cold weather, and I was just acting accordingly. The first few nights I was there, however, I got the distinct feeling that I should have been more worried about what was out there rather than the weather itself. All through the night, I could hear something lurking around one of those trails right out of the way of view, but I assumed it was nothing more than just an animal, and I wouldn't let my imagination get the best of me. One night, though, I could hear breathing right outside my tent, and admittedly, it was pretty freaky, so I stayed in my tent, and eventually, whatever it was, made its way back up the path. It seemed to go up where the mountain was, so the following morning, I made a foolish decision to do the same, because I was just curious to see if I could find any signs as to what could have been out there the night before. All the way up the trail, though, I kept my eyes and ears peeled. If it was a mountain lion, I wanted to be sure that I wasn't caught off guard. I kept thinking that if there was some kind of predator out there, then it wouldn't be as loud, because I heard somewhere that everything kind of goes quiet when they're around. I just kept on walking and paying attention to everything around me. I think I'd been walking up the trail for about an hour or so before I saw anything that really caught my interest. Looking out through the woods, I saw this large opening in a rock wall that was around 8 feet high or so. I could have sworn that there was something sitting there in front of it, though, when I first caught a glimpse of it. Right before I came to it, though, whatever it was retreated inside. That just piqued my curiosity. I began walking over, and as I was making my way over there, I thought for a second that I could hear something crawling around in there. Whatever it was fast. I had a flashlight with me, luckily, and I headed into what I assumed was a cave. But the first thing I noticed was how warm this cave was. I knew caves could be a bit warmer than the outside, but I thought that was only when you got really deep inside of them. This thing was warm all the way through. I'm not that familiar with caves, though, so I just brushed it off and kept on walking into this cavern. Inside this cavern was pretty tall, about 8 feet high ceilings, but it was tight everywhere else. We're talking only a few feet wide. Wide enough to turn around if you had to, but it would have been a challenge with more than one person inside. I tried to keep the entrance in seeing distance. That was my priority. But soon I found myself deeper and deeper. Actually deeper than I anticipated going. But I was just curious and needed to know what was going on. The entrance was nothing more than a distant memory at this point, and I decided it was best to head back before I got lost. I turned around, but as soon as I did, I heard something moving behind me. It was that same scratchy, scurrying sound I heard before I went in, and I turned around to see if there was anything there. There was nothing there, though, so I turned my attention back to getting out of the cave, and I began skimming my flashlight around the ground. I finally saw something on the wall of the cave that caught my interest, and it looked like deep scratches all the way through it. There was a small hole near this really deep gouge, too. At this point, my heart was pounding, but I approached it still. I had no idea what could have been in there, but I guess something in me just needed to know. I aimed my flashlight down to the hole, only to see this pair of bright green eyes looking back at me. Seconds later, I screamed and began running back to the entrance, but whatever this thing was seemed to be in hot pursuit of me. I took one quick look back with my flashlight, and I could see something that resembled a dog was chasing after me. But whatever this thing was, it was emaciated and looked like it could be blown away with one strong gust of wind. Its teeth were bared, and it was growling and making this shrieking sound unlike anything that I've ever heard. Period. Finally, I made it outside. I tripped on a rock as I did, and quickly looked back, thinking this thing was going to pounce on me. But whatever it was, wasn't behind me anymore. It seemed to have just stopped the pursuit, and turned back around to head back to where it came from. My guess was that it didn't like sunlight, but it could have stopped for any number of things. I made my way back to the campsite, and packed everything up as fast as I could, and then I headed home soon after that. I didn't know what that thing was, and I've never seen anything like it before or since, and I didn't want to risk it coming near me in the middle of the night, because all I knew was it could have killed me in my sleep. I apologize if this story seems kind of all over the place, but it's the first time I'm really letting it all out. I've told some of my friends about it, sure, but I've never actually sat down and actually typed it up until now. Hopefully, someone out there is listening and can shed some kind of clue as to what this creature was, because I sure as hell have no idea what it could be. I know it wasn't a bear because it was too small. It looked more like a dog because the muzzle was long. It had 4 legs and pointed ears and a long tail. But whatever it was looked like it hadn't eaten in a long time. I've done some research and I've read about things like wendigos that are emaciated, but this didn't look like a deer or any kind of hell beast. It really looked like some kind of wolf hybrid or some kind of wolf creature from a parallel universe. Hopefully, somebody can help me figure out what the hell it was that I saw.